Well, here we are on a beautiful Cairns morning in tropical North Queensland, and what else could you expect but a lovely blue sky, the sun in our eyes. Here we are on the Cairns Marina, and I'm with Ross Sydney Jackson. Now, before we tell you what you do, where does the Sydney name come from?
It's a long-standing name in the family, and I've never checked the history. I've normally kept quiet about it.
Well, you know, in Sydney terms, to be Ross Sydney Jackson, that's really important because Sydney is Port Jackson, effectively, and you've got, you know, both in your name.
Yeah, that's right, and yet we can't find any recent history here in Australia for the family, so I'm not sure where they came from.
Oh, I think you have to search a little bit further back. Now, you're head of cross-border business for Visa. Which countries do you cover, Ross?
I cover all the countries in Asia Pacific, supporting our teams that are located in each of the countries around Asia Pacific and Central Europe, Middle East and Africa.
That's a huge role. I mean, that's about, what, half the world?
It's a wide landscape, but we have offices in many of these countries, and effectively we're represented in those offices. My job is just to help them on the cross-border business.
Now, Visa's a major international brand as well. I mean, in terms of market leadership, is Visa the market leader in your space?
Yeah, we have a significant share in many countries, and we always take a leadership role in the industry wherever we can.
Well, we've been here for the last couple of days at the AustraliaChina Tourism Summit, which has been very significant as a step forward, I think, in terms of the relationship between Australia and China. What's your view of what's gone on over the last couple of days?
The forum's been great. It's been, I think, strengthening the relationships between tourism associations in both China and Australia. I think the content has been well aligned. I think both from industry and from government, we've seen some really good input from China and from Australia. And we've also seen some great networking opportunities as people have met at this two-day conference and covered a lot of issues in a very quick time.
And is Visa strong in China?
Yeah, we've got a very good presence in China. We have offices there and many cardholders who use their cards very well here in Australia, so we're very pleased about that.
And how has the Chinese tourism market contributed to Australian tourism to date?
Well, the Chinese tourism has contributed in many ways. Obviously, the growth of China as a source market for many countries has been quite astounding over the past few years. And we're seeing from a survey work that we're doing, we're seeing now the Chinese tourist is spending at a level in countries like Australia and others like UAE and Korea and the United States, and they're become amongst the top 10 spenders in each of those destinations. So they are great contributors both by numbers of tourists and by their spend when they go to a market.
Brilliant. What are their needs, though? Are they slightly different to other... I mean, we're standing in a part of the world which has been dominated until fairly recently by Japanese travellers, and they had enough special needs. And I remember, years ago there were training courses for people in the industry to understand what Japanese travellers wanted. You're a specialist on the sort of Asian countries, and particularly China in that regard, I suppose, and travelled extensively. What do you think they're looking for, and do they have any special or different needs?
Well, the Chinese traveller is looking for, firstly, when they're choosing a country, they're looking for a lot of things that Australia offer. Natural scenery, they're looking for new and exotic places, they're looking for cultural experiences. And then, Australia has to look at who's travelling. We're seeing that a lot of the people coming to Australia have already travelled in their younger years to markets closer by in North Asia, Hong Kong, Japan and so forth. And now they're looking for deeper travel experiences, and Australia has to align with the profile of those markets, 35 to 44 years, maybe retired as we go through the next 5 to 6 years, and cater by providing products and services, language skills and availabilities that cater for a market which is very strong as a source country.
There are some schools of thought within the industry that say, look, if a tourist is coming to Australia, they should have Australian experiences and enjoy Australian food and not expect their home country to be replicated here. And I don't think that's what you're suggesting. I mean, I think it's a bit of achieving a balance and recognising and respecting those other cultures, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about respecting the people and helping them enjoy the local culture. And we're seeing the Chinese tourists definitely want to appreciate the local food, the local culture. They want to immerse themselves in other cultural experiences. But to do that, you have to make it easy for them, and that's all that they're looking for. And we were seeing in the conference some of the work we did in our visa travel intention survey, which we did of Chinese tourists here. We're seeing that food, for instance, is one of the top things they're looking for. And that doesn't mean to say they're looking for only Chinese food. They're looking for great Australian food experiences.
I heard a comment that many Chinese travellers said they didn't like the food in Australia. What was the basis of that, and do you agree with that?
I can't comment on the discussion that went on in terms of the basis. I heard many theories on it.
Yeah.
I think you got to get it down to basically we've seen over a 16% increase in spend on Visa card in the last year, in 2010 over the year before, in restaurants. So they're happy to go and spend. So I think what they're looking for is the quality of food, and perhaps one of the comments that I heard yesterday, if I can borrow from one of the speakers, was that they're looking for the quality of food because food means much more than just a meal, and so it's about how you serve it up as well as the environment in which you're serving it. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that probably a lot of people don't realise about companies like Visa is that you actually know a lot about the sort of things your clients do and how they spend and so on. I'm not expecting you to give any trade secrets away, but are you seeing any interesting things happening in terms of retail? We've talked a little bit about food, accommodation and so on, and in the context that I think the average income or something, I can't remember yesterday, was about $20,000 US.
Yeah, I mean, two questions, I guess. The first is the retail issue. We're seeing really a gravitation towards the sort of high-end luxury items, purchases outside of China. Yep. We see that is obviously highly desirable. In terms of other spends, we're seeing obviously 3- and 4-star accommodation going well, and other profiles in retail and accommodation. That's what we.
Interesting there. You said 3- and 4-star accommodation. So it's not at the moment. You're not seeing the real luxury top end happening, but you're seeing the mid.
Yeah, the desire for resorts and luxury is about over 12%, 12 or 13%. So you're really looking at 3- and 4-star accommodation as being the most desired when people go to plan and book and looking for maximising their trip. Yeah.
And I think some of the things that came out yesterday is that online is really critical for this for the Chinese market in terms of not just booking flights and accommodation and so on, but a lot of other things to do with their trip. Are you seeing that reflected from your survey?
Yeah, there's a reduction in organised travel towards flexible tours, which means people get free itineraries while they're actually in country, and also a real growth in independent travel. So online in the planning and booking stage is very important. They both, like many other countries, they research and plan online, and then when they do go to choose and book, an online presence is absolutely essential. Yeah.
There were quite a number of government employees yesterday in the various panels, and government people from both China and Australia speaking. You're one of the few commercial guys, along with I think Mango City and so on, and some of the operators up here. If you had to sum up what the summit does for Visa, that would be really good to hear, going forward. And also, generally, what do you think this summit will do for Australian-China tourism relationships, both ways, really, because it's about inbound and outbound tourism?
Yeah, well, it's been a great summit. I think it will. It's obviously escalated some of the issues that the Australian and Chinese tourist authorities have been looking to deal with. It's brought them to discussion, and I think people have been looking for solutions. I thought the environment and the nature of the discussions was really positive, and there was a real solution-focused environment in most of the discussions that I saw. From our point of view, I mean, there's two things we can contribute to informing the industry. We do have a lot of research that we do, the travel intentions survey that I mentioned earlier, our own data, and we are really pleased to be able to provide that to the industry to help them make better decisions, to look at demographics and targeting particular groups. And from our point of view, a forum like this allows us to listen, to understand the needs, to understand how we can help people with their product design, their ability to be in the right places online, their ability to make payment secure and easy, and in the way that we can support the industry and do in all markets around the world. And
can we presume that China's high on Visa's agenda for people travelling out of China and using Visa cards during their travel?
Absolutely, yeah. We have obviously a very active marketing campaign in China, and much of that is focused on the outbound travel of China. We also, obviously, if you look the other way in this forum, the Australia to China route, we see a very high percentage percentage of Visa card usage by Australians going to China. So we've invested well in the infrastructure and acceptance in China, and we'll continue to do so to make sure that the acceptance, the convenience, the security is in place for people travelling on that corridor.
Yeah, because the high Australian dollar is making outbound travel extremely attractive at this point in time, and China apparently, I don't know, I was in Vietnam recently and that was amazing value, but China's even better value for money than Vietnam.
Yeah, China is good value for money. Australians are looking to travel overseas more than many times years in the past because of the exchange rate, and they're choosing China and other Asia destinations, but it's for Australians, it's a very desirable new experience destination.
Well, I know you're on your way back to Singapore this afternoon, but thank you for your time and thank you for coming to the summit, and thank you for your insights through the survey. One more question, will the survey be an annual survey or a periodical? Or?
Yeah, we'll be releasing another survey later this year. It's an annual survey which has been going on for the past 6 years, and we intend to continue doing it. It's well received by the industry, it's used by the industry, and that's what's important.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.